Hi, we're coming to you from the MUSC Urban Farm on the MUSC grounds. My name's Andrew Hargett. I am the arborist and ground supervisor here, and today we're going to discuss planting trees in pots. So the first thing we need to do is find the tree that we want to put in our pot, and we need to find the pot that we're going to find the tree. When purchasing a tree that's in a container, first of all, we want to check the bottom, make sure we don't have a lot of roots coming out of the bottom and that it's not a root-bound tree. Secondly, we're looking at it for pretty good form, shape, and also what do we want. Today, we want to plant a mandarin orange. So now that we have a good tree ready to go into a pot, we need to select our pot. Obviously, the pot needs to be larger so that the roots can grow into the new pot. Now you want at least 6 inches of growth all the way around for the new tree so that it has room to expand and grow. Eventually, this pot is going to be too small for this tree. But right now, it is about the perfect size. You can see I've got about 9 inches of space, and that will allow this tree to get good size, and it could probably stay in this pot somewhere between 3 and 5 years depending upon its growth. So now we will put some soil into the pot. When we're using pots, we don't want to use soil that will compact inside the pot. So topsoil and garden soil are no good. You really need to use a good quality potting soil, or if you want to make your own potting soil, you can use either perlite, some compost, soil conditioner, and a little bit of sand, or you can use permatil instead of the perlite. What that does is it doesn't allow the soil to compact into a tight mass. Then what happens is it rejects the water and won't absorb, and the tree roots suffer and die. So good quality potting soil. Some people like to put gravel and drainage in the bottom of the pot because you need holes in the bottom of the pot for drainage. Now, gravel is not required if you use good quality potting soil. However, sometimes if you're worried about too much wind affecting it, the gravel adds weight. For lightweight moving of pots, you can also use styrofoam peanuts. That's something else that we use to keep the pot light for when you have to move trees around the garden. So, put the potting soil into the pot. Now, the white things in the potting soil are the perlite, which keeps it from becoming overly compacted. What you're looking for is some good nutrients, some bark, some good soil texture, good soil volume. This will allow the tree to grow nice and healthy with minimal amounts of fertilization. Now, because pots, the water runs through the pot, we will have to replenish the nutrients from time to time. So it's always a good idea to fertilize your pots twice a year with a good slow release fertilizer. So we filled the pot about half full, and you need to size the tree to the pot. So what we have to do is pull this out. Now, setting this pot, it looks like we're a little bit low, but it depends on how high you want the tree. Tree needs to stay in a pot at the level that you want it at, because it's not like planting it in the ground where it needs to be slightly higher. So we're going to try to keep this tree right about here, so we need to get just a little bit more dirt underneath this root ball. Now, that looks good for the height. It looks like it's right about this rim level, which seems perfect. So, now the next thing we need to do is take a look at our circling roots. You can see them all. They're all in here. What we need to do is we need to break this up a little bit so the roots will shoot out into the new soil. Now, since this tree is going in a pot, we don't really have to worry about ground attachment and so forth and so on. Because one thing that happens in pots is the roots will keep going around and you never get like a big tap root, because all the roots get the signal that there's plenty of nutrients and plenty of moisture all around. So you don't get the anchoring roots like you do with a tree that's grown in the wild. Now, the roots are free and ready to grow into the new soils. Set this guy in. Then we go for straightness of the tree. Now you can see where this tree has been grown in an environment that forced it over one way. See how the top of this tree is all growing. Most of the leaves are this way, so the tree's not quite balanced. But now that it's out of the nursery and growing freely, it will start to rebalance itself given the sunlight and nutrients. We'll add some more potting soil to secure this guy in. So, one of the things that I do that some people don't do is I still mulch my pots a little bit. The reason being is pots typically, especially trees that are supposed to grow in full sun, the soil gets cooked pretty good. Now I don't put as much mulch as I would a tree that's growing in the ground, but a nice little dusting always helps keep moisture retention from the sun baking this. Pot's already hot, and it also depends on what kind of pot you have. This one is a plastic pot, so it stays nice and lightweight. If you have a terracotta or a concrete pot, it's going to cook the soil faster, make it hot, and it's going to dry it out, so you have to water it more. Now that we got the tree halfway in and looking reasonably straight, the other thing is we want to make sure it's kind of in the center of the pot, is now we're going to put some water on it and compress this a little bit without punching it down. Now, one of the things about planting any kind of plants is you're going to get nice and dirty. Your hands should get dirty. If you want to wear gloves, wear gloves. If you don't mind the dirt, just use your bare hands. Never ever allow dirt to sit on top of the old root ball. So even though I poured all this dirt in from the one side, we still need to fill this. Looks pretty good. Now you see how there's a light dusting. You can still see like all the roots just at the surface right there. We're going to give them a light dusting so that it's in the ground. But we have no dirt on top. Now you should also know with citrus that this tree has been grafted. You can see the graft right here. So if there's any cold damage, a lot of times what happens is this tree will shoot up new growth from below the graft. Anything that comes from below the graft will not be a fruit-bearing tree. It's part of the rootstock. So now we just straighten this guy up, give it a little tap. On a windy day, you can really see how things will move. In the end, you can see this tree's a little unbalanced. If you want to prune it back a little bit, you can, but it will make your tree a little smaller. So my suggestion would be to allow this side to get more full sun, and it will quickly catch up. If balance and symmetry is important to you, by all means, give it a little clip. One of the other things that should happen when you have a tree in a pot is you should raise the pot onto feet. That allows water to get through the bottom without sitting on the ground. Second thing is it keeps air flowing underneath the pot, which allows for air pruning, meaning the roots won't grow into the dirt. Conversely, other roots won't grow up into the pot because this is nice soil and other trees and shrubs will want to get this nutrient. One of the most important things in container growing is watering as well as nutrients. The question is always, how much water should I water? The watering on pots is always variable to the temperature. In these cooler days of autumn, you can get away with once a month. In the hot summer days, you probably need to water at least every other day. It's always better to water longer than it is to just give them a quick spritz. You want that water to go all the way down to the bottom of the pot, see a little water come out from the bottom, then you'll know that the soil is nice and saturated. Now, mulch is not really required in a pot. Again, this is my preference. I just do a very light dusting, not even 1 inch thick. All it does is it breaks up the sun's rays and doesn't allow it to bake directly onto the soil. One last thing, these green things, they need to come off. Because as the tree grows, these things will girdle the tree. You can leave this tag on so that you know what variety you have, or you can write it down, or you can put it on the pot. And essentially, that is how we plant a tree in a pot. And this segment was brought to you by the MUSC Arboretum, celebrating 10 years of service. And you can reach us on our social media pages at MUSC Arboretum. Thanks so much.